The McDonnell Douglas DC-8 is one of the most iconic airliners of the jet age. Introduced in 1959, it was the first jet-powered aircraft produced by Douglas, going head-to-head with Boeing's 707 in the race to revolutionize air travel. Powered by 4 engines and designed for high speed and long-range travel, the DC-8 served with commercial airlines and cargo carriers around the world for decades. Its long, sleek fuselage and distinctive wing design made it a favorite among pilots and aviation enthusiasts alike. Over 550 of these aircraft were built across several major variants, with improvements in range, noise reduction, and engine performance. But as newer, more efficient aircraft entered service, the DC-8 slowly disappeared from the skies. Today, only a few remain, with many being already scrapped, and even in boneyards or museums, it's rare to find a DC-8 fully intact. Of the handful still in existence, just 2 are believed to be operational, with one of them based at a quiet international airport in the middle of North Carolina. That is the Samaritans DC-8-72 Combi. Samaritan's Purse is a non-profit Christian humanitarian organization that responds to global crises, delivering emergency medical supplies, clean water, food, and disaster relief to people in need around the world. Their DC-8 is a key part of that mission. Based in Greensboro, North Carolina, this aircraft has a range of 4,500 to 5,000 nautical miles and is configured to carry both passengers and cargo, giving the team the flexibility to deploy personnel and critical aid at a moment's notice to any part of the world. From hurricane-stricken islands to war-torn regions and areas hit by earthquakes or epidemics, this aircraft brings help and hope to people in the most difficult circumstances. And several weeks ago, on June 27th, I had the incredible opportunity to visit the Samaritan's Purse aviation hangar in Greensboro, North Carolina, and tour this very aircraft while it was on the ground between missions and visiting airshows. In this video, I'll walk you through the exterior and interior of the DC-8, explore its unique modifications, and share what makes this aircraft not only a rare piece of aviation history, but a vital tool in saving lives around the world. From the outside, the aircraft still carries the classic DC-8 profile of grace, elegance, and being built for performance. Its distinct cockpit, narrow fuselage, and swept wings reflect the classic details of early jetliners. But this isn't just any DC-8. This particular model, designated the DC-8-72 Combi, was extensively modified in the 1980s with quieter, more efficient CFM56 turbofan engines in place of the original JT3Ds it once had in the 1970s. These upgrades not only reduce fuel burn and noise, but also extend the aircraft's lifespan into the 21st century, making it feasible for long-range humanitarian operations. And from the outside, you really could never guess this aircraft is nearly 57 years old, being meticulously maintained and cleaned, reflecting the care of the Samaritan's Purse aviation team. While walking up to the aircraft, you get a true sense of its scale, having a wingspan of 149 feet and a nose-to-tail length of 157 feet, with the 4 CFM56 engines that each produce 22,000 pounds of thrust. Stepping through the forward cabin door, you're instantly transported back to a different era of aviation, with the inside of the DC-8 still carrying the unmistakable character of a 1960s jetliner. Immediately after stepping inside, you enter into the original and iconic cockpit. The DC-8 has a 3-person flight deck with positions for the captain, first officer, and flight engineer. And unlike today's glass cockpit layouts filled with touchscreens and digital displays, the DC-8's cockpit is filled with heavy and mechanical flight controls, with rows of analog gauges, toggle switches, and rotary knobs. Every major system, such as fuel, hydraulics, pressurization, and pneumatics, is managed manually, requiring close coordination between the flight crew, which, in summary, flying this jet takes real muscle and precision. And despite its age, the cockpit still supports global missions, being maintained regularly and upgraded where and when necessary, while preserving the integrity and reliability of its original design. And even though from the outside this DC-8 looks nearly brand new, once you're inside you can see the signs of age and wear and tear from over the years. Pretty much everything that tells a story of an aircraft that has been working hard for nearly 6 decades. But maintaining a jet like this isn't easy or cheap, with spare parts becoming increasingly hard to find as most retired DC-8s have already been fully scrapped, and repairs on the aircraft take time. And because of its age, small mechanical issues can appear without much warning, which can delay important missions, which is ultimately why Samaritan's Purse will be getting a newer aircraft to replace the DC-8 at the end of 2025, something I will talk about later in the video. But despite all of that, this aircraft is still flying strong and still making a global impact. That, of course, is a testament to both the aircraft's original design and the dedication of the team that keeps it in the air. Moving on into the heart of this aircraft and stepping through a narrow, roughly 2-foot by 4-foot door, you're inside of the cargo hold. This DC-8 is a -72 Combi variant, meaning it was configured to carry both passengers and freight. The main deck is equipped to carry up to 10 full-sized air freight pallets with a maximum payload of around 74,000 pounds, the equivalent of about 37 tons of release supplies. What makes this setup especially efficient is its simplicity, with a wide open floor space, rolling tracks for quick loading and unloading, and reinforced flooring to handle heavy payloads. This area, the DC-8, once had a full cabin and windows, but when it was acquired by a new airline around 2005, this section of the aircraft was converted to a cargo hold. Since its first mission with Samaritan's Purse in 2016, this aircraft has delivered over 8.7 million pounds of cargo across 200 missions. Whether it's responding to natural disasters, medical crises, or supporting long-term aid projects, this DC-8 plays a vital role in getting help exactly where it's needed and getting there fast. Moving on, behind the cargo bay is a small but critical section of the aircraft. This is the main cabin area. Though this DC-8 no longer carries passengers in the traditional sense, the cabin area has been configured very much like an everyday airliner to support the crew and mission needs. The aircraft can carry up to 32 passengers and 2 flight attendants in a 3x3 seat configuration in 5 rows of seating. The cabin area also has 5 cabin windows, which were some of my favorite parts about the DC-8, as the cabin windows are very large and in a very recognizable oval shape. I also always like to mention how the Embraer E190 is definitely an aircraft that has very comparable windows to the DC-8 as well, and looking out the window is certainly an incredible experience as to what it would have been like flying this aircraft on a daily basis in the 1960s. Even considering you can't see a whole lot from the rear of the aircraft, it still is an incredible view. This aircraft also has 2 lavatories in the rear of the cabin and an area for meal services, but of course because of its age, it doesn't have any very high-tech cabin features. And in addition to the general operation of a nearly 60-year-old iconic jetliner and the important work that Samaritan's Purse organization does, the concept of this DC-8 being a Combi aircraft is definitely one of the things that sparked attention amongst aviation enthusiasts. That the fact that there's still some kind of passenger DC flying in 2025 is pretty amazing. One thing I would also like to mention is that there was firefighter training going on during the tour as well, so I do apologize for some missing or fast content sections as I wanted to make sure I wasn't in the way of important training.
There you go. There it is.
Wrapping up the tour inside the cabin, we make our way to the rear cabin door to exit the aircraft down the air stairs. Of course, before leaving, I had to admire the incredible view of the DC-8's massive tail and back section of the wings before heading down the air stairs back onto the polished hangar floor. As for the exact history on this aircraft, this DC-8-72, registered as November 782 Sierra Papa, rolled off the assembly line on Christmas Eve, December 24, 1968, as the 427th DC-8 ever produced. It was first delivered to Finnair in January of 1969 as Oscar Hotel Lima Foxtrot Tango. For the first 12 years of the aircraft's life, it was equipped with 4 Pratt & Whitney JT3D engines until 1981 when they were swapped out with the more quieter and efficient CFM56 turbofan engines. At that same time, in November of 1981, the DC-8-72 went to a new operator, which interestingly was the French Air Force, registered as Foxtrot Romeo Alpha Foxtrot Golf. After flying for the French Air Force for 23 years, the DC-8 was withdrawn from use in 2004 before later being purchased by Air Transport International as November 721 Charlie X-Ray in June of 2005. It was at this time and with this airline operator that the DC-8 was then converted to a Combi aircraft, being mostly cargo with a small rear cabin able to carry 32 passengers for what I believe may have been chartered cargo and passenger flights, or possibly even an aircraft used by the company to transport both employees and cargo at the same time. It flew with ATI until right before its birthday in December of 2013, when it retired from the airline. Later on, throughout 2014, it hopped around between airports, eventually before settling in Roswell, New Mexico in November of 2014. Roswell would have been the final resting place for this DC-8 as it was planned to be scrapped in the near future. But fortunately, Samaritan's Purse was able to purchase it in 2015 and later had its inaugural deployment in 2016, forever changing the future of the aircraft. And a question I asked the tour guide and was something I was very curious about was why the organization decided to purchase a nearly 50-year-old jet as their first major humanitarian aircraft. And the reason was pretty much since the previous airline already did the work of configuring this aircraft to a Combi and made it perfect for Samaritan's Purse when they were looking to purchase a major aircraft to use for their major missions. Mixed in with the DC-8's long-range capabilities, it was a perfect choice for the organization, with the only downside being the general age of the aircraft. But they certainly made it work for almost a decade now, becoming one of the last ever airlines in history to fly the DC-8 in its fleet. But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end eventually. The DC-8 certainly isn't getting any younger, and with parts becoming more and more scarce, maintaining the DC-8 has become very difficult and expensive. And with there being plenty more modern airliners around, the DC-8's retirement was soon to come at the end of 2025. The replacement for the DC-8 will be a Boeing 767-300 freighter, registered as a member 367 Sierra Papa. This 767 is nearly 20 years old and previously flew with Qantas Freight from 2011 to 2024. And just recently, on July 8, 2025, the 767 arrived in Greensboro, North Carolina, wearing the Samaritan's purse livery. A key point with the 767, though, is the fact that it is all cargo. So how can it fully replace the DC-8 if it can transport personnel? The answer to that will be a later purchase of another aircraft, which will most likely be a fully passenger-configured Boeing 757, but no details about the aircraft type have been made official yet. And for those who don't know, Samaritan's Purse has actually had a second main aircraft for a few years now, being a fully cargo Boeing 757-200 freighter. This aircraft wasn't at all a replacement for the DC-8, but was just an addition to the fleet in 2022. If you would like to learn the full history on this Boeing 757, check out my video linked here or in the description. The last thing I would like to say about the Samaritan's Purse DC-8 retirement is the future of the aircraft. There's no need to worry about losing a piece of aviation history, as once the DC-8 is retired, it will be donated to a museum that is still to be determined. So the history of this aircraft and the incredible work it has done will live on forever. And over the years, the DC-8 has made several visits to air shows around the country, and had actually just arrived back from the Dayton Air Show in Dayton, Ohio, less than a week prior to my tour. The DC-8's last ever air show will be Oshkosh 2025, where it'll be on display for the whole week of the event. So if you're able to make it out there, this year will definitely be the year to go. So moving on from the DC-8's history, as we begin the aircraft walkaround, one of the most interesting and overlooked parts of the aircraft is the wheel well. The DC-8 has 4 wheels on each of the 2 main landing gears and 2 wheels on the nose gear, which are tucked beneath the fuselage just behind the nose gear and under the main wings in the center of the fuselage. The wheel wells house the landing gear struts, hydraulic lines, and electrical connections that make the aircraft's takeoff and landing systems function. Looking into the DC-8's wheel well is definitely much different than it would be for any modern airliner with all the original components from the 1960s. Seeing this aircraft close up, you really get a new appreciation for just how iconic the DC-8 design is. First flown in 1958, the DC-8 was designed and built by the Douglas Aircraft Company, before becoming McDonnell Douglas and later merging with Boeing. The DC-8 helped launch the jet age alongside aircraft like the Boeing 707, being a true transcontinental and transoceanic jetliner, capable of connecting cities and countries like never before. Airlines around the world, including Delta, United, and KLM, operated the DC-8 on domestic and international flights throughout the 1960s and 70s, and it became one of the most recognizable jetliners of its time. But as aviation technology advanced, newer and more fuel-efficient aircraft began replacing first-generation jets like the DC-8. By the 1980s, many DC-8s had been converted from passenger use to cargo, and a major upgrade was made to replace the original smokier JT3D engines with the CFM56 turbofans. These converted models gave the aircraft a second life in cargo service, and by the 1990s and early 2000s, almost all remaining DC-8s were flying freight, operated by companies like UPS and many cargo charter carriers. It was a transition that I would say is similar to what we're seeing today with aircraft like the Boeing 757. Once a dominant passenger jet, now valued for its versatility and repurposed for cargo or specialized roles. Today, the DC-8 is all but gone from basic commercial operations, only a handful survive in museums, and just 2, including this one, are still actively flying. With this one in particular being the only DC-8-72 variant still flying, and the other DC-8 still flying is a -73 variant operated by Skybus Jet Cargo. Basically, the Samaritan's Purse DC-8 is the only short DC-8 still flying, and the Skybus DC-8 is the only long DC-8 still flying. An interesting fact about the engines on the Samaritan's Purse DC-8, throughout the 10 years of service with the organization, it has never had to have an engine replacement or a major engine issue. But in the case of an engine failure, there is one engine fully ready to replace a damaged one and a second engine that can be used for parts. For the next few minutes, enjoy the walk-around tour of the DC-8 with the sounds of the aircraft's APU running in the background, a familiar hum that brings the jet to life even without the engines running. Wrapping up the walk-around tour of the DC-8, I'd love to comment again on the amazing work Samaritan's Purse has done to keep this old bird looking like it just rolled off the assembly line. Like I said before, if you had no idea this was a DC-8, you would probably think it was a brand new aircraft looking at it from the outside. To finish off this video, I wanted to share some more history and information about the Samaritan's Purse organization. Founded in 1970, Samaritan's Purse is a non-profit Christian humanitarian relief organization that responds to crises around the world, whether it's natural disasters, war zones, or areas impacted by famine and disease. Their mission is to provide physical aid along with spiritual support, helping people in Jesus' name in some of the most difficult situations imaginable. They operate a global network of emergency response teams, field hospitals, water purification systems, and supply chains that reach even the most remote places. Aviation plays a major role in their ability to respond quickly, and the DC-8 has been and is the backbone of their large-scale international airlift efforts and is actually just one of more than 20 aircraft in their fleet around the world. The organization is also known for programs like Operation Christmas Child, which delivers millions of gift-filled shoeboxes to children in over 100 countries every year. And beyond emergency relief, Samaritan's Purse is involved in long-term recovery efforts, medical missions, and rebuilding communities. Before I left the hangar, the Samaritan's Purse team provided me with some incredible souvenirs to take home, including some leftover tickets given to people at air shows as passes to tour the aircraft, a magazine from the recent 2025 Day in Air show they just arrived back from, pamphlets about the organization and Operation Christmas Child, and my most favorite being some uncirculated Samaritan's Purse DC-8 safety cards. Touring their DC-8 gave me a whole new appreciation and understanding not just for the aircraft itself, but for the people behind it, the aviation team, volunteers, and the mission they're committed to every day. I cannot thank the Samaritan's Purse team enough for this incredible tour and making my dream of seeing one of my most favorite and most iconic airliners come true, and of course for the amazing humanitarian work they do around the world. Please be sure to visit the Samaritan's Purse website, which I've linked in the description below, to learn more about the organization and how you can get involved, whether it's through volunteering, donating, or simply spreading the word. Every bit of support helps them continue making a difference around the world. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more aviation content like this, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite thing about the DC-8 is down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.